podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts Radio Network, kingofpodcasts.com.
The juvenile and delusional, well, you got Stroke Daddy in NXT, but we got no justice for Janelle Grant.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Welcome to episode 908 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. King of Podcasts is here with you. kingofpodcasts.com is the website. Of course, you can find all my content, all my social media handles, everything there, and all my other episodes of other programs that I do here in the King of Podcasts Radio Network every week. And again, you find the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, wherever you find your podcasts. So before we get into anything, there was some breaking news late coming into the program tonight that I have to share. And it's the fact that Vince McMahon's federal charges have been dropped. Taking from the New York Post, federal prosecutors in Manhattan have dropped a criminal probe that focused on whether former World Wrestling Entertainment boss Vince McMahon tried to cover up multiple allegations of sexual misconduct. His lawyer told the New York Post. On Friday, a grand jury revealed they had considered whether the 79-year-old billionaire broke the law by hiding allegations of sexual misconduct from two female former employees whom he ended up paying $10.5 million to keep quiet. And the ruling from a three-judge panel does not name McMahon, but refers to, quote, the subject of an ongoing grand jury investigation concerning whether, as CEO, he engaged in a criminal scheme to circumvent the company's internal accounting controls and mislead company auditors in order to conceal multiple allegations of sexual misconduct raised against him by two former company employees. We know one of those for sure is Janelle Grant, who was named back in January 2024 as a victim and a plaintiff in a lawsuit put up against Vince McMahon for criminal charges. Now, Robert W. Allen, as a former Manhattan federal prosecutor, he stressed Tuesday that the prosecutors have entered the probe without asking the grand jury to bring an indictment against him. He's the lawyer representing Vince McMahon. Quote, this is simply the result of an appeal of a procedural matter that was argued 5 months ago. We have been in consistent communication with the government since that time and understand with no ambiguity the investigation is definitely concluded, definitively concluded, and will not result in charges. Now, prosecutors tried to abandon the case after federal judge Valerie Camproni ruled in June 2024 that the government, quote, had established probable cause to believe, end quote, that McMahon and one of his former lawyers broke the law. After all that's said and done, they tried to say that there were certain documents that were not given to the court. And there was a point where McMahon's ex-lawyer had specifically instructed him to talk about the payoffs via text instead of email for the express purpose of avoiding the company gaining the knowledge of it. Prosecutors decided to drop the case at some point between September 18th and January 10th when the SEC, in the waning days of the Biden administration, announced it had reached a settlement with McMahon to resolve the cover-up claims, a source familiar with the matter said. When the SEC deal was announced, McMahon released a statement implying he would not face criminal charges, dismissing the seriousness of the probe. So we go back to February 2024, or January 2024. January 25th was when Janelle Grant put out the lawsuit. And of course, in February, at the same time, Ted Mann and Dave Palazzo, right? Oh, I think I said names in the clip I'm going to play in just a second, but there were several Wall Street Journal reporters going back to 2022 that were trying to smear on Vince McMahon. And was it justifiably so? Probably. I'm not saying it wasn't. But we know that in this case, you were not going to get him on a criminal charge. You're talking about a billionaire. Wasn't going to happen. And there was also hush money already put in, so payments were made when there were no allegations being put to the court prior to that, for whatever reason. But according to the SEC, the $10.5 million that were paid out to two women accusing him of sexual misconduct, that was the exact amount that McMahon paid the women. So listen, he did it, but he also paid them off. So coming back after the fact to try to go ahead and get this done, that's another story. Now, of course, we can also put points across that a couple of things might have happened. And of course, the political slant might come into play. Now, we know very well that McMahon has been a longtime supporter of Donald Trump, President Trump, our current president. And Linda McMahon, who previously served in the Small Business Administration under President Trump in his first term, is now being confirmed by the Senate this week as Department of Education Secretary nominee. So she's going to head Department of Education, I guess, in the dismantling of it, because we know that that's also going to be coming up about that, however that's going to go. But maybe there's some political ramifications as to why the case was dropped. But again, the case was dropped before. We're just getting the official announcement now. But before January 10th, between September 18th and January 10th, the SEC case was done. This case right now with Janelle Grant, this is the one we're talking about now that is done. It's out. So his alleged cover-up of sexual misconduct is done. And so whatever else could happen won't be. Now, okay, they are still under investigation by Janelle Grant from January 2024. That case is still ongoing. So the latest has gone on, which I have not talked about this case at all with Janelle Grant. The SEC ruling was very important because if it was going to get hit by the SEC for charges, we now know that he actually made the payoffs. That's there. Now, as to what will happen to this deal with the lawsuit that Janelle Grant put against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE is still ongoing. The current status right now is that we had that Janelle Grant's legal team filed an amended complaint in her lawsuit. New evidence naming Brock Lesnar. That happened 2 weeks ago. I didn't bring that up in the program. Like, again, I'm waiting for this just to pass along. But if there's something going along here that's important, because the case continues, all these extra things being added to the mix, we haven't got anywhere with that case yet. Okay, we're still a year in, and we're at this point. And so far, McMahon's legal team has called this a smear campaign. The case should be settled under arbitration, as outlined in a non-disclosed NDA signed by Grant. So at the moment, we still don't know where we're at with this case because it's still pending. There's nothing that has happened yet. So at this point, we're still waiting. We don't know what else is going on. But again, this criminal investigation now dropped. If we're looking at this point, then I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get anything else that comes of the Janelle Grant case that might also get dropped as well. Or we're not going to see anything at all with him. But things are starting to go ahead and go in favor of Vince McMahon here. I don't know if he's going to go ahead and by the way, he was a spot at the Super Bowl. People can also say that as well. The last thing that was brought up recently was attorneys for Janelle Grant filed a claim against a medical company that medical records related to the Vince McMahon lawsuit were withheld. And the same claims were part of Grant's amended complaint. And there was a supplemental filing on February 5th after the initial amended complaint. And the idea was to go ahead and use the information to name Colker and Peak Wellness in her civil suit. Again, trying to just add more to the case to try to get something out of this, but I don't think it's going to really come with anything. I don't think we're going to get anything out of it. I just don't feel like anything's going to happen with that. But again, I am going to continue to stick to my story that it's something civil. If we get to arbitration in the case with Janelle Grant, that's what we're going to get. But as for the Wall Street Journal reporters, going back to 2022, my beef with them, going back to that story, this has not changed at all for them. Let me go ahead and play a clip for you. Episode 824, and this is from January 26th of 2024. But remember, he's already been investigated internally. The SEC is investigating him. He had federal officials put a warrant out on his house, and they searched his house. You want to get him for civil, and get more of a civil settlement off of him? You want to make more money off of him? Go right ahead. But the criminal part, you're trying, and Wall Street Journal, you continue to fail. Why do you keep going after him? What is this infatuation, this obsession you have over him? Like, seriously, you literally are sexually, obsessed with this man. I kid you not. I feel like you're masturbating to the idea that you can get him and take him down like a cancel culture. Your tiki torches are out. It's obvious. We know you are. And the wrestling public, I'm sorry, my fellow podcast wrestling brethren and the dirt sheets, you can't help yourselves, but take this story and run with it. Without even looking at what this really is. This is just a regurgitation from June 2022. The same bullshit over again. The only difference is now the lady that was part of the settlement has come forward in the public. Reluctantly, I want to add by that as well when I talked about that. But very interesting at the moment that Wall Street Journal talked about the payments, settling the SEC charges. They did report this a month ago, according to this. Well, excuse me, a former boss did. Okay. But still, when it comes to Vince McMahon, the criminal proceedings, all that stuff, anything that goes against the Wall Street Journal narrative of what they wanted to have happen to him, I guess that's not going to happen, is it? Oh, no. Nope, sucks. Sucks to be them. They're not going to get it. They're not going to get what they want. But yet they were so on to attack. Because this is what they wanted. Joe Palazzolo and Ted Mann. These two on a vendetta to go after Vince McMahon. And he continues to skate free. He is Teflon. And I don't expect him to go any criminal charges. So, Wall Street Journal, you are weak. As one person I would say from Britain would say, weak as water. You're not getting anywhere with this. And I am not surprised that he's going to go ahead and get out of all this here and nothing's going to happen. Because I believe that no matter how much you want to amend the complaint that's going on right now, I still don't believe Janelle Grant's going to get her justice for what's happening here. Okay? He has not been punished. He might have, he's already had to pay off hush money. He did that. But other than that, what are you going to get him for next? And so I need to say to the judge, the attorney for Janelle Grant, and just say to her, listen, you're not getting much more out of your client. I mean, I don't know how much more pressure you're going to get out of this. Okay? We talked about the judge, right? And I'm trying to go and pull up her name. And I forget what her name is, but I got to go look this up real quick. Ann Callis. Judge Ann Callis, right? And I talked about the failed run for, what was it, for Congress, I think it was. I forget what it was. But Ann Callis really hasn't done much with herself in her career. I mean, for what she's done, taking on this case, I mean, she's gotten some notoriety for it. I don't know if it's really made anything for her at all, and if she's really gotten anything from this as a result. But it's nothing here. Nothing at all. She still goes on and says that while the case is closed, he's still under criminal investigation by federal prosecutors for Southern District of New York, which is now done. That's what Ann Callis talked about then. Still trying to get her word out there. She talked to Cultaholic about a month ago about all this and said, quote, during this time, Vince McMahon acted as if rules did not apply to him. Now I have confirmation he repeatedly broke the law to cover his horrifying behavior, including human trafficking. SEC charges prove that the NDA Vince McMahon coerced Ms. Grant into signing violates the law. Therefore, her case must be heard in court. Well, they dropped the charges. And she said we would bring in new evidence about the civil case. And they did. We still haven't gotten anywhere with it yet. Again, she's asking for, the accusing of McMahon of sex trafficking, sexual assault, and physical and emotional abuse. Give her punitive damages and let's just get this done already. Everyone wants to go after and get this guy with tiki torches. It's done. It's done. The lawsuit was paused from June to December 2024 because of the Department of Justice asking for requests to pause it. When the lawsuit resumed, there were new motions to compel arbitration because that's where we need to go with this. Then you have the amended lawsuit trying to go and throw in Brock Lesnar and some medical company about medical records and all this other shit. It's not going to work. It's not. I don't see it. So if you're going to do anything, and Callis, go to arbitration. Get this young lady her money. She already took money from him before. So get a bigger payday for her. Punitive damages, criminal, as a civil case, be done with it. But I don't expect you to win this case on criminal charges. I'm really going to be surprised if she does. I will be shocked, stunned, and mortified. I don't think it's going to happen, though. That's it. Done. So I'm not going to bring up any more about Vince McMahon. Just done. We don't need to bring it up. It's like, okay, it happened. All right. There are new things that are going on right now within TNA, as there are changes being made behind the scenes. Now, we know that a year ago last year, January 2024, we know that right before TNA Hard to Kill, Scott D'Amore was let go as president of TNA Wrestling, right? And then in February 2025 or 24, they brought in somebody new, Anthony Ciccone, and he has been in that position as well. Well, Fightful Select is reporting right now, Sean Ross Sapp, PW Insider are both saying that there are changes in the company. Josh Matthews and Christy Hemme have both left the company. And Josh Matthews was formerly an announcer. He's working what was behind the scenes as well. Christy Hemme had come back to go and work social media for the company, and they're both out. And now Ciccone, after 1 year holding the role, I'm guessing in a transitional period, he was the president of TNA's parent company, Anthem Entertainment, and now a new executive is being brought on to oversee production and other facets of TNA. And all these changes are going on. I'm not sure really what it is that is causing all of this, and what's going to be the new changes that are going to be happening. But, I mean, at the moment, it's not like anything's going bad for this company. Like, they're just kind of moving along with what they're doing, which is fine. There was a statement being made by TNA Wrestling as to the changes that were going on with all this. They've announced that George Veras is a new executive producer of the Anthem Sports Group. He's a 10-time Emmy Award-winning president and CEO of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Enterprises, as well as president of Veras Communications Incorporated. And they mentioned that Josh Matthews and Christy Hemme are no longer with the company. So, all there is with that. That was made out there, made clear. Just a couple of changes to go along with that. Mark Brown, according to PW Insider, is expected to join TNA as a new director. Oh, for television, because he had done work with Ring of Honor during the Sinclair era and New Japan Pro Wrestling events. And also with George Veras, he has a lengthy broadcast career that spans across ABC Sports, NBC, CBS, and more. So there's quite a bit of changes going on with that. Also, PW Insider reports that Johnny Bravo and Ingrid Isley are joining the talent relations arm of the company, both being involved with backstage aspects in the past and coming into a department headed by Gil Kim. So there's changes. But I don't think it makes much of a difference in terms of what the product's going to be going forward. We'll find out what it's all about and what happens going forward. So back to the real world, back to the world of the toxic wrestling fandom, the juvenile and delusional. They were all caught up and happy about this.
Holy crap!
Stroke Daddy.
It's obvious you know who I am. If NXT is the future of professional wrestling, well, guess what? You need an absolute superstar of the future. If this is the hottest brand, well, you need the hottest free agent right now, baby.
He's currently a champion at Defy, And look, I've been watching Ricky Starks going back to NWA Power. So that's what, 2018, 2019? 7 years. I thought his run at AEW was very well. I think they were giving him a push. Now, I don't know what happened in the middle of why things changed as they did. Okay, if the CM Punk thing was the actual reason why, and now he's here, it's whatever, man. There's a lot of things that happened over here, and the fact that he was kept off TV because eventually he was going to get out of his contract and leave, fine. And maybe that's what it is. This is just a casualty of the CM Punk cancer that was in AEW. And whoever chose sides, that's how things were. Now, can Ricky Starks really do something here? I'd like to think so. But will he only be relegated to maybe being what? At the highest end of the career, IC champion or US champion? Is that what we're looking at? Maybe a tag team title? Because I don't expect him to be a world champion. And in WWE, no. Not a reason why he can't be a champion somewhere, but look, I don't think you could just let Ricky Starks just come in and let him just go on and do his thing. Because that promo is no different than what he was in NWA. I don't see what the difference is. Well, the wrestling can be great, sure, but what is we going to do right now to get this character over and be a little bit more something? Because right now, he could be very much in the same realm as LA Knight, who also came from NWA Power. But at least he's got a job here. He's going to get paid somewhat. NXT will be a nice place for him. Interesting that another AEW star gets relegated to the NXT developmental system. But of course, they're trying to make NXT not developmental. They don't want to act like that, right? But it still is. And everybody they want to bring in, they don't want to bring on to that main roster. Have we had anybody right now that has been just moved over? Has that happened lately? No. Not at all. We haven't even talked about that. And Ricky Starks comes in at a time where he gets through the 90-day non-compete, right? And that's all done. But then at the same time, we also had a bunch of releases that came out with the company, and they were all, not surprising that they happened. But here they are. At the moment, we had the Authors of Pain that got dropped as of February 12th, by the way. Paul Ellering, who was managing them. Cedric Alexander. There are a lot of people want to speculate he'll go join her syndicate. Sonya Deville, Blair Davenport, Isla Dawn, Giovanni Vinci, Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and Elektra Lopez. So that's all done. And most likely, most of these stars have 90 days of non-compete before they can go ahead and move to another company. Where could they go? Well, I will say this. For the women, it's always a thing about, at the moment, I still think TNA and at the moment AEW are your two best options because of the fact that what they're doing with the women's division in both of those is always very good. Right now, I got to say this about AEW. If there's certain things that they're doing right now that have been very interesting and good about their product, sure, the way they're approaching right now with the Undisputed Kingdom or with Cope and his group of minions and FTR and the whole setup of trying to go after the Death Riders and take them down, and the Death Riders continue to go ahead and stay on top. Got that. Or we now finally have the part where MJF going after veterans like Jeff Jarrett or Dustin Rhodes, and now Hangman Adam Page after 4 weeks finally gets a full confrontation with him, and they go after each other in a full pull-apart brawl. Now we know that Adam Page and MJF are setting sights on each other. We got a feud on them. A program's going to begin on that. Great. That's great. But for me, the most important, and then you have patriarchy with Shibata, Joe, and Hook. Oh, okay, sure. But for me, the biggest thing I'm seeing right now of all this, and also we could say Jay White as well, being brought into the whole mix as well, with Cope. But I will say this, first and foremost, the best things going on right now in AEW by far are the women's division in the title programs right now. So it's already been obvious the restart of the Timeless Toni Storm, Mariah May storyline has been wonderful. The last 2 weeks have been magical with that story. Like the last 3 weeks. When Toni Storm, as the rookie version of her, transforms back to Timeless. And then we get the Mariah May look-alike. And Toni Storm, let me tell you, I've seen pictures of her all over the place as Mariah May because people just went and simped all over her because, yeah, she looked amazing. Of course she did. And then this week on Collision, Luther returns, brings out the shoe, and then after the match that Mariah May had in action, and then she picks up the limp body that looks like it's her opponent, when it's in fact Toni Storm. And I'm like, I am sold on that match. Oh, I just can't wait for it. What a great feud. Mariah May and Toni Storm made for each other. Excellent, excellent women's storyline. And then the other one now that is really picking up steam. Harley Cameron, I never really paid too much attention when she was part of Outcasts and all, but I'll tell you what. This thing right here with Mercedes Moné, the puppet, the rap, like, oh my God, man. She is destroying on every particular level. I instantly feel like amazed by this woman. Now I'm like totally in. What a great gimmick. What a great character. What charisma, what personality. It's underdog right here, and I hope she wins the damn belt at Grand Slam Australia. I really do. I hope we see 2 title changes. I don't know if we're going to get both of them, but I would love to see Toni Storm and Harley Cameron come away with championships after Grand Slam Australia. Now, I would love to see it. I think it's just going to be wonderful. I will probably do a post show after that. That's what I'm looking at right now. Even when it comes up late at night, I'll probably be up watching it anyway after the All-Star coverage. I guess it's not going to be up that late. I mean, what, 1 o'clock in the morning, Bri? So I'll be up for that. I'll probably be able to do some quick little run around and turn around a recap for that show. Probably will do that, most likely. Now, other than that, we know we still have Swerve Strickland and Ricochet also dealing with things right now with each other. And so the whole setup for that show coming up this weekend, we're going to just talk really quickly about it. I'll do some preview predictions on that real quick for you. At the moment, we will have the AEW Women's World Championship match. Mariah May defending her title against Timeless Toni Storm. I will take Toni Storm for the win. The Brisbane Brawl tag team match, which will have the Death Riders, Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli facing off against Cope and Jay White. I will take Cope and Jay White for the win because Moxley's not going to have the title on the line. Or the Trios title will not be on the line either. And then we know that we have Mercedes Moné and Harley Cameron. I will take Harley Cameron for the win. Right there, those 3 matches so far. I will go and go all in with that and see what happens after that. But like that's really good stuff so far. Now, as for the Elimination Chamber we got coming up in 3 weeks. March 1st, Toronto. At the moment, 4 competitors have qualified. We got John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre winning the triple threat over LA Knight and Jimmy Uso on SmackDown, and Logan Paul, who beats Rey Mysterio. And by the way, seeing Logan Paul on the Netflix show, I was surprised by that. Very surprised. But we also know what's not surprising is the fact that we're probably still not going to get any kind of information on the ratings for said program. We still don't know what that's going to probably be yet for the Netflix stream so far. We won't find out, I guess. SmackDown, by the way, pulling off a $1.5 million for their show, the 3 hours, this past Friday night. No report yet on NXT. Has not been reported yet. AEW Collision, 387,000. Much better number than they have when they've gone head-to-head with either football or WWE programming, like the Saturday Night Main Event, things like that. So they've been doing what they can with what they're doing right now, and they're putting out good shows on there, as a matter of fact. They've been pretty watchable. Let's say that. On the women's side of the Elimination Chamber, going to say this too. We now have Liv Morgan, who beat Io Sky in disqualification. That was last week. Bianca Belair beating Piper Niven on SmackDown. Alexa Bliss taking out Candice LeRae on SmackDown. And Bayley winning over Lyra Valkyria on Raw Monday night. And the other matches we still have left to go and see coming up for the remaining qualifiers for the Elimination Chamber on the men's side. Seth Freakin Rollins against Finn Bálor. That's next Monday night coming up. And a triple threat match this Friday night with Braun Strowman, Damian Priest, and Jacob Fatu. Let's just make it clear. Jacob Fatu should be in this Elimination Chamber match. And Seth Freakin Rollins should win this as well. So if we're going to get anything right now that will not make this so stale, we'll get Jacob Fatu. And he absolutely must be in this match. It's obvious. They need to put him in this right now. Set him up. I don't know why they did what they did with him in the Royal Rumble, but they did. But let's get him out there and start doing something with him right now. Jey Uso also has already chosen to face Gunther for the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania, so that match is now locked. Now they got to set it up. And I don't want an underdog storyline with Jey Uso here. We need something else coming out of that. I don't know what we're going to get out of it, but we want something more. And as for the women's side, you have Chelsea Green taking on Naomi on SmackDown this Friday. And then Raquel Rodriguez takes on Roxanne Perez. So my guess is Chelsea Green, Roxanne Perez will be part of that. How far do you let Roxanne Perez go here? Because that's also the new face in this mix. How far do you let her go? I don't know, but I mean, I'd like to see her go farther than she'll do. Maybe have a very good run in the Elimination Chamber, but we don't know. But who among them they have right now? We still have to figure out who Charlotte's going to face at WrestleMania 41. We don't know yet. And then the setup here, I don't think it makes much of a difference. We'll find out what goes on and see what they got anyway. So we'll figure that all out. Before I wrap things up, I want to just take a few different comments that were being made out there. Unlike what I had last week, which was like an endless array of comments that I had from the delusional fandom that was out there that commented about one of my videos. I didn't get so much this time around. I did get James Batten, who also just wrote, he did write to me and sent some commentary, so I'll read that real quickly. And this is after the episode I had on last week. He writes, quote, Charlotte will be fine. Her pre-Rumble vignettes were heel promos. If any of the women wins the Royal Rumble, fans would have moved on faster than when Chelsea Green won the jobber belt. With Flair, Charlotte fans will root like hell for her. Well, I don't know if he means Charlie. Or if it's Tiffany, I guess he means. The fans will root like hell for her, and the rest will boo their asses off all the way to Mania. And then he says, well, we need a true heel in wrestling right now. Fans today want two wrestlers that they like in every match, with one posing as a face, the other one posturing as a heel. Then the audience will boo the latter in a wink, wink, nudge fashion. Essentially, fans have helped create a culture of face versus face matches in direct opposition to the tried and true face versus heel formula that wrestling was built on. That is why they cheer moves and no one else is viscerally cheering or booing the talent anymore. And so the pseudo forces the fans back into that old formula is doing the business a favor, because wrestling is always drawn when it has three things: strong faces that audiences love, believable fans, the heels that the fans hate, and characters. And I consider both Charlotte Flair and Toni Storm two of the most important wrestlers in the sport today, because the two of them, only two women even trying to achieve what wrestlers should always strive for, a true reaction from the fans. I will add Harley Cameron into that list. Just saying. And I would still put MJF in that mix, especially what he did with Adam Page tonight. That promo that he did earlier was very good. Let's make clear that the switch up and the two times they confronted each other, really good stuff. Real good setup for that. So a few other things I want to bring up that I saw on X this week that I thought were good to point out. From an AEW fan, obviously. Oh no, Tony Khan lost to Ricky Starks with whatever will he do with a roster filled with Will Ospreay, Okada, Kenny Omega, Hangman, Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, Ricochet, MJF, etc. Meanwhile, somebody else says, I mean, it's the most respectful way. Tony Khan is an absolute dumbass for letting Ricky slip through his fingers. And then I see Wrestle Cringe putting out a tweet saying that for whatever reason, Penta took on Grayson Waller on main event in a dark match, basically, before Raw on Monday night. What is that all about? I just wanted to make sure. And then somebody writes back and says, he needs to learn how to properly wrestle in the mainstream world. After 20 years in the indies, I think it's normal. Give him a little bit of time to know how to wrestle the right way. Wrestle the right way. WWE style is the right way to wrestle. Okay. That's interesting. And then somebody else last week after the releases, they mentioned that the stars that were used of the ones that were being dropped, their accolades coming out of the WWE, right, was Authors of Pain were previous Raw Tag Team Champions, NXT Tag Team Champions, and the 2016 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners. And Paul Ellering, a Hall of Famer manager, Blair Davenport, the Iron Survivor in the 2023 Women's Survivor Series, right? Or that was the NXT thing, right? And Sonya Deville, a former Women's Tag Team Champion and on-screen official. And they're all gone. Who knows, man? Who knows what's going to go on all about that? And that's the show tonight. We're not going to go any farther with that. I think I cleared everything that I have. But I appreciate all of you for checking on the program and listening in. Like I said, I'll probably most likely do a recap this weekend when it comes to Grand Slam Australia. And if anything else comes across the pipe, we'll talk about that too. We'll bring it all up right here. But stay tuned for that. And come back this weekend. Enjoy Grand Slam Australia. And come back for another Wrestling Whisperer podcast because wrestling needs us.